Hey guys, SuperCoach God here, and today we have a very special video. We've got our top 10 must-haves video, and we have a very, very, very special guest in SuperCoach with DR. How you going, mate?
Oh, thank you very much. You are absolutely too kind, mate. Wrapped to be here. Wrapped to be here. There's a little bit of carnage, obviously, with the Wi-Fi that people won't know about, but we are here and wrapped beyond, mate. Making my debut on the channel, so hopefully I do all right for myself, mate.
Yep, I made my debut on your channel a few days ago now. So if you haven't looked at that, go check that out at the end of the video. I'll put the link to it in the description actually. And yeah, so we'll just go over your little achievements here. So the other day, I don't know how long ago it was. Might have been how long ago it was. It might have been a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure, but you hit it. You hit 5,000 subscribers. So congratulations, mate. Congratulations, mate. And 4,000 followers. It's just insane. I think you're the second most subscribed to Supercoach YouTube channel now.
Oh, look, mate. Thank you
Behind
very
George, I
much.
believe. So
Yeah, look, it is
one of the
very
goats.
humbling. Very humbling. Look, I said to you pre-podcast, not about the numbers or anything, mate, but it's more of a thank you to the community for sort of getting around the channel. And, we've got a fantastic community. You're obviously a big part of it yourself, mate. And, yeah, look, the great George, he's the number one man on YouTube by an absolute country mile. But to be up there, as I said, mate, it's very, very humbling, but not about the numbers. It's all about the great people that make up the community. As you know, mate, we're content creators. We put out the videos, but if it's not for the wonderful people that are watching now, then the channels wouldn't be anything, mate. But no, thank you very much, mate. Yeah, pretty exciting sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we'll get right into it. So we're just going to talk about the structure on the right here. So we're going to go. We decided to have a structure because you can't just go throwing out 10 players. I did that in the last video I did of this, and it just didn't really work. There was a lot of controversial comments. So we're going to go 3 defenders, 3 midfielders, 2 rucks, and 2 forwards. So nice little structure there. So we'll get
Beautiful,
straight
mate.
into it with the defenders. So DR, if you'd like to go through your 3.
Well, the man up the top, I think this is a really obvious one, isn't it? Now, the issue is, mate, do you actually start with this bloke? He's an absolute must have at some stage of the season. Don't get me wrong. I think the last time we were talking, I was actually off Dacos. He's now in my side, mate. I think it's pretty scary trying to fade this man. You look at his ownership, you look at what he did last year. If he stayed fit, most likely a Brownlow hanging around his neck. And even in the last Pracky game against the Tigers, I'm just trying to find his stats here. So he got Nick Dacos 102 Supercoach points, 57% time on ground. So if that gets close to the 80 mark, well, what sort of a ceiling does this man have? I think it's a pretty obvious must have. I don't think there's too many people that don't plan to have him at some stage. The big question, as I just said, mate, is do you actually start him? For me, even with the potential fin tag, we know they're playing Sydney early on and they've had Clark on him, who's not there now, but the tactics work for them. It's very scary betting against this man. And given the fact that he's still got defensive status, I think that is an absolute godsend, mate. So, yeah, Nicky D for me, absolutely locked, I think, mate, as that first defender or midfielder or defender, whatever you want to get him as, should be
Yep.
one of the first players look to get in, mate, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Nick Dacos, he could go down as however many Brownlows he wants, to be honest. So, yeah, absolute lock for me. He's been in my side since day dot. I think I had one day without him, and yeah, after the preseason game, I got him straight back in. Yeah, as you said, 102 and 57% game time. I watched it. He had a couple of rusty moments, but apart from that, he killed it. So yeah, Nick Dacos, even with the bye, still a lock for mine. We'll go into your pick of Tom Stewart.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. When we talk about must have, maybe not. I'm not as keen on him as what I was maybe even a few days ago. But the thing with Tommy Stewart, you pretty much know what his role is going to be. And I don't think that's actually going to be a midfield role. That was actually floated during the preseason, mate. And I was pretty keen on that because if you look at just a little bit of data that we got last year when he attended some CBAs, he actually scored really well. So I was looking forward to that potential role change. But even with his usual role down back, you pretty much know what you're going to get with Tommy Stewart. I think the Cats are unfortunately on the decline, and Cat supporters don't complain because you have been up there, it seems like, each and every year. So I think it's the Cats' time to spend a little bit of time towards the bottom quarter, half of the ladder, I think. But that probably means that there's more ball down there for Tom Stewart as well. I think he'll take some kick-ins. We know what he's like with his intercept marking. Do you save up and maybe go somewhere like a Sheasel over Stewart? If you need money, you could. But I just think that if you look at his scoring history, it's safe. People may look at his age and get a little bit worried about that, but he's not a midfielder. He's obviously been playing down back. I think that age doesn't worry me as much in the role that he plays. So I think there's a lot of ticks to this pick. And so he's pretty safely sitting in my side at the moment, mate.
Yep, I agree. He's obviously not in my 3, but we had to make some. I couldn't have the exact same 10 must-haves that DR sent me, so I had to change some up a bit, give some different opinions. But yeah, Tom Stewart, I mean, he didn't even try in the practice match. He just wanted to get out of there unscathed. Obviously, I think he scored a 60-something, 70. I'm not too sure, but yeah, he's also in my side, so love to see it. We both have Hayden Young, so in our top 3 defenders. So let's talk about him, Dia.
Oh, look, I think at the price, 525K, we saw when he moved into the midfield late last year what he could actually do. Now, a few people were scared off in the first practice game against the Eagles. Didn't seem like he really got involved, spent a little bit of time even down back. But in the last practice game, he looked fantastic for me. He hit the scoreboard, 115 SuperCoach points. It looked like the role was really there for him. What we love about Hayden Young is the fact that he was a really early draft pick. Great potential, but it's his use of the football as well. So I think having him in the middle, being able to use that lovely left foot, will just be fantastic for Freo this year. He's a real up and comer, and I think that if you look at the Stewart types, the Houston types, we're paying even 100K more for these type players. So Hayden Young with a midfield role, he's in the right age bracket, I think. When you compare Fife, Sarong, Brayshaw, I think that he'll probably get a little bit more time than Brayshaw. So I think he'll be probably that third rotation with the CBAs. And I've got him pegged for a top 8 defensive average this year, mate.
Yeah. Well, you think about their midfield and you see O'Meara's almost on the way out. Fife is coming back into that midfield role, which we all like to see. Whether we go ahead and pick him or not, that's the question.
Yeah.
Sarong, Brayshaw, I think Brayshaw is going to be playing more wing this year, or just as much wing as he did last year. I don't see many major scoring improvements coming from him. Sarong could potentially up his average. But yeah, they've got a nice mix between young and old in that midfield, and I think Hayden Young will definitely take advantage of the opportunity. We'll get into my selection of Zach Reed.
Love it.
So Zach Reed, he's about 202 centimeters or something ridiculous like that. I'm not sure, but he can take a nice intercept mark. He's gonna try his heart out to get that spoil in. He almost looks like a heart and soul player when he's out there. And he scored a nice, I believe it was a 70. I think he scored an 80 in the practice match, which was better than the other 2 main defender rookies in Gibcus and Caulfield.
Yep.
So definitely a lock on either your bench, or you could even have him on field over Gibcus, I think.
I agree.
But yeah, DR thoughts?
Yeah, well, I had when I did the Essendon team preview, I had H and Joey from the centre bounce on. Shout out to those 2 legends, and they were super excited about this bloke. I know that David King even said that he was going to be their most important player going into this season. That's huge raps from Kingy. But I know every Essendon fan that I know and I've spoken to about this bloke are just super, super excited. They reckon he is an elite talent. and is going to be part of the backbone of their side for the next 15 years. So I think this bloke is an absolute no-brainer, and really love the rookie selection you've thrown in here, mate, because there's a few question marks on some of these rookies down back, even to your Zach Williams types. Lots of question marks. So I think someone like a Zach Reed is someone that we can just lock in, throw away the key. If you're really desperate, you can chuck him there at D6. Probably my preference would be on the bench if you can. But either way, whether it's on field or on the bench, lock the man in. Great call from you, mate. Great call.
Cheers, mate. I think that's it on the defenders. So we'll go straight into the midfield. And here you can see we've only got one different selection again. I couldn't think of another person that was an absolute must-have in the midfield. I'm not liking many of the 600k primo midfielders, except for I like 3 in Libba, Butters, and Parrish, but they've all even got question marks on them. So
yeah,
but yeah, we'll get into it. We'll start with the highest priced player in the game in Marcus Bontempelli. DR?
Oh, this bloke, he's been a lock in my side for most of the preseason, mate. There are just so many things to like about this pick. Now, there were probably 2 things preseason that were slightly putting me off. The first thing was that he had that preseason surgery, but after speaking to some people, it was nothing major, bit of a cleanup just to get himself right. So that concern sort of went out the window. And the other thing is obviously his price, because if you look back at the history of SuperCoach, you look at the blokes that started as the most expensive player, very, very, very rarely do they actually back it up. So that's a big concern for some people spending a lot of money here with a Bont. You could save 100k and go a Sarong type. You could even go all the way down to someone like a Jack Steele. We're almost saving 200k. But what we're doing here, mate, is we're paying up for quality. Now, I've talked about this before with the Bont, but it's like, when you get the school uniform, mate. Now, I'm talking a bit of private school stuff here. So you've obviously got to get some nice clothes, but you've got obviously a nice shirt. You've got to have your nice shorts, probably the socks up to your knees and a nice tie. But the most expensive thing you've got to have is the blazer, is the old private school blazer. Bontempelli is the blazer in SuperCoach, mate. He's a guy that you just wrap your team around, the bloke that looks good, that's going to score big for you. And let's be honest, mate, last season, you went an 89. And apart from that, it was all 100 plus. So talk about a ceiling, talk about a captaincy option. This bloke has everything. Now, I reckon for the first half in the last game, the bloke was sort of going in first, second gear, just gets it up to third, ends up on a 130. This is what the man can do. Super damage, and there's not too many players in the comp. And I'm with you what you said before, mate. There's not a heap of those 600k type blokes that are really screaming pick me at the moment. They're not really the type of blokes that can tend to hurt you a lot. But Bontempelli is. He can absolutely destroy non-owners. So I just think it's so much easier starting with the man. I'll almost guarantee you at some stage of the season, he's going to lose some cash. I think that's a given starting at over 700k. But I can't see, too long in the season where he'll even be around the 650 mark. I just think he's going to be super consistent. And even if he has a poorer type game, he's got the big ceiling to even get that back the next week. So apart from the high price, there is nothing that I dislike about this pick. And unless there's some sort of major injury, there is no way, mate, that I'm not going in with Marcus Bontempelli. How about yourself, buddy? Locked up for you?
He's locked up, and I had to put someone different. So I didn't put him in here. But I tell you what, he hasn't been in my team all preseason until that practice game. He hasn't been in there once. I didn't even look at one structure with him. I was so keen on getting that value or getting a cheaper 600k midfielder like a Petrarca or something when Clary looked unlikely to play for so long. But now it looks like he's playing round 0 or something like that. But yeah, as soon as Bonk kicked that goal in the preseason game and just stormed past 2 players, run into 45 and just absolutely belt it through the big sticks, I couldn't. I turned the TV off and threw away the key. I threw away the remote. Actually, I was straight onto my laptop and put him straight into my side. So yeah, even if he averages what he averaged last year, 130. If he averages 125, I'm happy. I'm still happy with
Yep.
starting him.
Still decent,
Absolutely.
mate.
So the issue would probably be if he has a couple poor games, but considering he only got the 89 as a floor last year, the only score he got under 100,
Freak.
I
Freak.
I don't see him going under 650k, to be
I'm
honest.
with you, mate. I'm with you. And that's why I think it's important to start him, because getting someone like a Bontempelli into your side, and even someone like a Nick Dacos, for example, it's tough. Sometimes you're going to need to use a boost even. It's not as easy as just saying, I'll trade Bont in at some stage, because what tends to happen when you've got these blokes around 650k or more is that you tend to, as you mentioned before, mate, look for that value. So, oh, geez, well, rather than spending all this on a Bont, I'll just grab this player now. I'll get Bont at some stage. And you keep on pushing it back. And by the time you know it, you've sort of already got your M8 and you're just looking to upgrade from probably another premium to get him at some stages. So I'm just a big, big advocate for starting the big boy and not having to worry about it. It can be so stressful looking to get him in. So I reckon it's just much easier. And can you imagine watching Bulldogs games not owning him? It's going to be tough enough watching Tim English, but not having Bont as well, that would just be a dagger to me. I couldn't watch a Dogs game, I don't think,
Yeah,
mate. And I want to be able to watch the doggies as well. So locked in for me, mate.
yeah, 100%. We're gonna go on to Jack Steele now. I'm just gonna have a quick look. Should have prepared this, but Jack Steele's ownership. Um, he is, if I can get it up.
Surely
I'll
it's
just
gone
talk.
up after the
Oh,
Pracky match.
yeah, I think it would have, but I'll talk about him while I'm trying to find it. So, Jack Steele, it's a controversial must-have, I got to admit, but I just love the way this bloke plays. He was taking the piss in the practice match. He didn't even care. He was just handballing out to players. He wanted his team to get a good feel for the season, and he was just handballing out to players so they could run for 15 meters and kick it long inside 50. He on a regular, I know he didn't get many handballs in that game, but on a regular day, he will 50-50 that every time. So, um, he is, if I can just get it up, he is 520. He's 14% owned.
14.
He's
Okay.
almost a pod. And
Yeah. I don't even know where I would have guessed. Like, maybe that's, yeah. All right. I think the issue is that along with Jack Steele, like Ollie Wines had a really big game. Matty Crouch had a pretty impressive game. And I don't know, and we'll talk about this man, Nick Martin, in a sec as well, who very sort of similar type prices, these blokes, aren't they? So I think for lots of us, and me included, it's like, well, how many of these 490 to 550 type blokes can we actually start with? How much value is too much value? Oh, it's such a tough decision, man. But look, I think pretty much if you're a fan of Jack Steele going into this game, you'd be a fan of Jack Steele coming out of the game as well. He did everything probably that you'd want to see. And given the fact that he wasn't super impactful and still managed to get a decent score, that may be a positive there as well. Looks like he's put on possibly a little bit more weight. I wanted to see a little bit more size on Jack Steele. I just think he focused too much on that running game. And I know that that's what Ross Lyon's all about, being a running side. But some blokes, you just need those contested beasts. And I think that's Jack Steele's type of game. So the fact he's put a little bit more meat on, tackle counts up, which you love to see. If he could get 25 plus touches, he'd be such a good pick. Will he see come the real season? I hope so. Certainly in consideration for me, mate, along with the Crouch and the Martin type picks.
yeah, 100%. I just see, I look at the four players in Martin, Wines, Crouch, and Steele, and Steele has the biggest ceiling by a mile. So I think he averaged 125 one season, 126.
Yeah, along with I
And
think that was when Took did it as well around
when
that mark,
Took did it as
120
well.
plus.
So
Yeah.
Took's also there. But
Yeah,
a few
another one.
too many mouths to feed in that midfield, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we still haven't seen Flanders in there yet. which we don't know is if it's going to happen or not. We'll see that in round 0. But yeah, Jack Steele, I he's locked. I can't pick the other two in Crouch and Wines over this man. It's impossible for me.
The other thing is, mate, as well, is that when you look at Crouch, he's definitely behind Dawson, possibly behind Laird as well. When you look at Wines, you've obviously got your Butters type there, your Rosies as well, which you're going to eat in. Jack Steele is the main man at St Kilda, and he should have the highest CBA count. So that's another advantage he's got on the other two, mate. The fact that I don't think they're necessarily going to be the main men in that midfield, whereas this man, captain of the club, he will be the main man. So another advantage that I think Steely's got on the other two, bud.
Yep. And if anyone was wondering, I believe it was 79% CBAs. So, and it was the
79,
highest
okay.
for the Saints. So,
Yeah.
Nick Martin, we've both got him in there. He's still very lowly owned. Very lowly owned. I think he's around the Jack Steele mark of how many people have him. And even lower, maybe. He might be in the single digits, but I don't understand why people aren't picking him. He has got the Nick Dacos role. Talk about it, DR.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough to get a little bit of inside info pretty early on in the season before really anyone was talking about him. I won't say who I got it from, but a very good content creator out there who's got a few connections inside Essendon. But all the talk was they want the ball in this bloke's hands. That's what they want. They want the ball going through Nick Martin because he can create opportunities for the side. Now, really, apart from Martin, Merritt, really, who else do you really want the ball in their hands? You could say, former number 1 pick after Hugh McCluggage, McGrath, possibly, who had a decent game as well. But I just really, really like this move. And he did everything that we wanted to see in that practice match. So 109 SuperCoach points, 28 touches, 11 marks, kicked a couple of goals as well, was pushing up the ground, over 550 metres gained. So really, if you were keen on Nick Martin, what more did you want to see? And I tell you what, for 492,000, getting a defensive keeper, and this is maybe what people aren't getting at the forefront of their mind, the fact that come round 6, this bloke's going to be available as a defender. He'll be getting DPP, I'll guarantee you. So that is huge for me. If we can get a keeper at that price, who I think is a genuine chance of finishing in the top 8 for averages, then I'm absolutely going to take that every day of the week, mate. And I know we're going to get way off track here, but very quickly, when you talk about strategy as well, if you're worried about not going ultra heavy down back and you are starting someone like a Nick Martin, keep in mind that for the first, 4 out of the first 6 weeks, whatever it is, we're going to be having buys. So it's best 18. Maybe a couple of those defensive rookies won't even need to come on field. And by the time that the buys are over, those early buys, this bloke will be able to swing down back and possibly be played on field in place of a bit of a dodgy rookie that you may be playing down back. So that's another reason why I really like it, mate. I think that it can be a bit of a savior for us, particularly for those teams that aren't going ultra heavy down back to start off with.
Yeah, 100%. He wouldn't even be a pick if he wasn't playing halfback, I don't think.
Nah, not at all,
no
mate. Not at
chance.
all. Yeah.
If DPPs weren't a thing, he would not be a pick, even if he was playing halfback. So it's all about the DPP. And for me, I'm going to have hopefully 5 primo defenders already on my field at round 1.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful.
So, yeah, anyway, we'll get into Riley Sanders, who just looks like an absolute up-and-coming star. He killed it in the Pracky game, didn't he, DR?
Yeah, I'm just looking here at his touches, like 30 touches. The bloke got 30 touches, like 10 contested, when it's 70% as well. This bloke is an absolute freak. I was speaking to Matty Malta from Inside the Kennel podcast, and this bloke, if you want inside info, this bloke actually has Bailey Day, all these type of guys on his podcast. So he knows everything coming out of the Dogs, and he was so excited. He was so excited, and he's not one just to pump all the players up for no reason, but he said, get around this guy. He is an absolute must-have. He will play every game this year if fit. This was nice and early on in the season, and we can absolutely see why. What a steal he was at their selection. What a pick this bloke is. And he's got a really old head on him as well. And you know those blokes that just have a knack for finding the football, just find it in their sleep with their eyes closed? Riley Sanders just seems to be one of those blokes. Now, Jack McRae was obviously out of the side, but with some injury worries. We know what his role was like last year. Not the greatest. That CBA rate went down. We've got Baz Smith out of the side now. So I actually think that this bloke can actually demand a little bit of midfield time. When I say a little bit, a decent chunk. They've got a lot of midfielders to go through there, we know. I think probably to start off the season, it'll be your Bont, Libba, possibly Treloar. But I reckon this guy here is the next peg in that midfield. I prefer him over Treloar, I think. So, yeah, there is no reason whatsoever not to start this bloke and not to start him on field. I think if you're not selecting him, you're just getting too cute, too fancy. Just get the man in, lock him in, and then get to the rest of your rookies, I think, mate.
Exactly right. He's definitely looks to be the number one midfield rookie, because there's also question marks on McKercher now, because he's probably third string in that back line.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Hustwaite's only really come up in the past couple of weeks, really. And then I don't think the others can really keep up with Sanders, to be honest. So he looks like the definite number one rookie there, and looks like he can make us upwards, maybe easily upwards of 200K cash. So
I'm with you, absolutely, mate. Yep, absolutely. I'd be pretty disappointed if he didn't get to 400. Really, I think he's
yeah.
got the talent to get there. I just think he's going to be a terrific cash cow and give us some on-field points, mate. Maybe one of our last upgrades, possibly.
And if anyone knows how much he was paying for 30 touches, put in the comments. That's
Oh,
insane.
yeah.
Can't imagine he would have been paying that much. Sorry. Yeah, I can't imagine he was at low odds, to be honest.
Nah, not 30 for him, mate. Like, yeah, you'd be cashing in, wouldn't you, if you jumped on that for
Oh yeah,
sure.
oh my goodness. Anyway, we'll go into the rucks now. So midfielders, you've got them there: Bont, Steele, Martin, Sanders. So going into the rucks, there's only two. There is only two, and you can go elsewhere, but you're gonna have to downgrade other lines or go with a Sherry and cash another 80K. But I think the one on the left is certainly a lock. The one on the right could be argued based off a practice game, but
Mm.
we saw, I think it was English got a 65, or I think got a 75 in his practice game last year. So I wouldn't be too concerned at all. Laddams isn't going to be playing as much ruck as he did. So, DR, you want to get into it?
Oh, well, Max Gawn just speaks for himself, mate. Speaks for himself. So the last game against Carlton, let's just read this out. 14 kicks, 10 handballs, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 30 hitouts, 3 free kicks for 2 goals, 12 of his 24 possessions. So half of those were contested, 185 super coach points. Now, God, let me tell you, for anyone that's watching, if you don't have Max Gawn in your super coach side, I don't know what you're doing. Just get him in. Don't play fancy. I don't care. Do what you want with Grundy. I don't care if you want to not start him. Do what you want with him, but select Max Gawn. There is no reason, zero reason not to start Max Gawn. So, mate, I don't think there's a big discussion needed. Just come on, everyone, do the right thing and select him. The big discussion, I think, mate, is probably on Brodie Grundy, because if we look back to the first practice match, for me, he looked fantastic, mate. He was energetic, getting around the ground well. So after that, I thought, yep, we saw exactly what we wanted to see, lock the man in. And then we get a little bit of cold feet watching him play the last pracky match. Now, it's funny because it really didn't look like that Brodie Grundy was interested playing this game. There was no energy there, nothing like his attitude towards the first pracky game. And that surprises me because he's a bloke at a new club that would really want to impress his teammates. So I don't think Grundy would be really in a position just to say, look, I'm just really going to take this game easy. I think he'd want to impress. So that does slightly concern me. Mate, I've got a terrible history with Pete the Peanut Laddams. So I refer to him as the Peanut, Pete Laddams, because he really screwed me during that COVID year when I selected him.
Yep.
Went out to the nightclub like a dickhead or did something. I don't know. It was stupid, right? So I've never forgiven the Peanut Laddams. And I tell you what, if he screws up this Grundy pick, mate, I'm not going to make threats because he's a big, scary looking man.
Yeah.
And I'm not. So I'm not going to make threats to him. But shit, it's annoying. But look, realistically, mate, what is Sydney going to do if they run with Laddams and Grundy in the same side? I am spooked. I am really, really spooked. We are so lucky that we get to see Grundy play round 0. It's an absolute cherry for us, because without that, the guessing game gets really tough. So I am still on Brodie Grundy at the moment. Round 0, if the role is there and Laddams isn't around, then I'll pretty much just go with him again, regardless of score. But if Laddams is in that side and he plays with the same energy as what he did, then I'm going to need plan B, mate. And that's either going to be having to go down to Cherry, which I'm not wrapped about, or really have to pay up. And I don't want to have to do either. I really hope that he works out. What are you thinking, mate? Are you getting any cold feet with Brodie yourself after that showing, mate?
I did for a brief period. I was looking at structures with English in it, English and Bont.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that was pretty. I stopped doing that pretty quickly. Just went back to what I knew. I've known all preseason. But Grundy, you can't. I don't think you can play Grundy, Laddams, and is it McLean in the same side.
It's
It
going
just
tall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone real tall, and normally McLean pinch hits in the ruck. I could be getting McLean and McDonald mixed up here. I'm not too sure, but one of them definitely pinch hits in the ruck.
I think it's more
So
McLean, mate. Yeah, no, I think you're
yeah,
right. Yeah,
and
they've got Amati there. Yeah, they've got McDonald who's a tall forward. So
I don't
yeah,
think I don't think you can play these two rucks. So I think Laddams is going to get the boot, but um, yeah, we need to see more from Grundy this week. That's 100% sure. I'm 100% sure of that.
yeah,
Otherwise, we are in strife,
60% tog for him.
which is a
So
positive.
surely that's 80 plus. If that
Against
tog
was it
was up,
against
I'd be,
Briggs as well? Was it Briggs? Who they
yeah,
play?
it would have been. It would have been. Yeah,
Yeah, it
Sydney
was Briggs,
GWS.
and Briggs went pretty big, I think. Um, so we can forgive him because he played against a very good ruckman a little bit, but we need to see more against Max Scorn this week. So
Yes, mate. Yeah,
um,
it's almost good though, the fact that I'm almost wrapped he's playing Maxi in round 0 because it doesn't count. So it's like get this really tough one out of the way, and so then we can just select him after he plays Max.
yeah, and I almost think Grundy's actually going to be really um, almost annoyed at how Melbourne treated him almost, and he's
Yeah,
just going to
yeah,
go out and dominate. So I remember when he played Collingwood last year, the first round. I think he kicked the first or second goal of the game, and he played really well.
would have loved that.
And so there's a bit of motivation, I think, for Grundy to perform well in this game.
Absolutely,
Um,
mate. Absolutely.
but yeah, I don't think we don't need to speak any more on Gorn. I mean, he's just a lock. A 185 in a preseason game. I mean, I like it's a preseason game. We shouldn't be thinking too much about it, but he's been in our sides all preseason. Just keep him in. There's no
Exactly right.
there's no ifs or buts about it. So
Oh, I know, and just very quickly, mate, I've seen it up close. So I went to Melbourne, Brisbane last year. Absolutely heartbreak, and they came back right close to the siren. But it was a weird feeling because I was a Max Gorn owner. The bloke scored like a 200 plus, but he was just carving up the Lions. So it's like, do I put my SuperCoach supporter hat on or my Lions beanie on? It was sort of great, but not at the same time. I'm sort of like, yes, Maxi, but don't go too hard, Maxi. I still want to get the win here. But he can when he's on, he's unstoppable. unstoppable, this man, and the ceiling is just skyscraper type stuff, mate.
Oh,
So
100,
yeah, lock the man in.
100%.
Absolutely lock him in.
Absolutely. Keep an eye out for Grundy this week. Anyway, we'll go into the forward line now, the final line, and we've got two players each. So, and we picked two different players. So, obviously, George. That is bad.
The
DR. I saw. I
oh,
saw the
mate,
word.
don't
I
offend
saw the
George
word
like that.
Jordan. I saw the word Jordan, and it messed me up. Yeah, people give me shit in the comments for that one. Anyway, DR's got two different players to me. I gave him the luxury of picking the players first, and I would have definitely gone Wilson, but I think there's two absolute locks of rookies in the forward line. So we'll get into it, and I'll quickly start with the highest price player in Fisher. So, like many people now, he is the highest priced player in our forward line.
Yes.
Landers performed poorly. We still get a free look at him this week, luckily. And yeah, Fisher just looked too good in the preseason game as a halfbacker. Just absolutely killed it. What do you have? 38 touches, or I don't even know. It was
Yeah,
more
it was
than
mid
30. I know
30s.
that.
Yeah, mid 30s.
And then yeah, he had a nice disposal efficiency, which I didn't think he was capable of. So he looks like an absolute lock to me. And yeah, what are your thoughts, DR?
I'm so annoyed because I had Fife as my F1, which I know is a little bit scary, still playing around. But it's like, damn, this guy just played so well. It's almost like I've got to fit him in. What more? My question to everyone is, what more could he have done? He kicked the ball well. He found the peel with ease. His defensive pressure was awesome. His spoiling was great. So not only did he really attack, but I also rated his defensive game as well. It was almost the perfect game. Now, the concerns for me have always been the fact that I've never, and no offense, like he's AFL player, like good player, but I've never really rated him as a fantastic player myself. But in that halfback role, damn, he looked exciting. His energy was up. He was quick. He just gave them a really nice option through the back line there. And at this stage, what are our concerns? Well, a lack of scoring history, potentially. Will there be a role change? Well, let's be honest, mate. If you were the coach after watching that game, would you be keen to be moving Zach Fisher into the forward line? I don't think
No,
so. All the talk has been all preseason that they want him coming off halfback, and that's what we saw. He passed the eye test for me. Sheasel's there, McKercher's there, but McKercher didn't do a lot for me. He wasn't too clean. I thought that Fisher was the much better player than Sheasel on the day as well. I think Sheasel just really junked it up, particularly in that last quarter with 12 odd possessions. But Fisher was just consistent. That's the other thing about him, mate. He was consistent all day. It didn't seem like he really had some quiet patches. His quiet patches were when he was sitting on the pine, to be honest. I remember he didn't start the fourth quarter. And I remember Sheasel went into a CBA and I saw Fisher come on about 10 seconds later, just finds the peel. Now, was it just one of those days where everything goes right, everything seems to go through him? Possibly. We've been tricked in the preseason before, mate. I've been tricked many, many times. And that's why I suppose I'm a little bit hesitant to still go there because I have been burnt before. But he couldn't have done much more to impress me, mate. So I'm with you. I'm trying to find ways to get him in without completely changing my whole structure again because I was so keen on just Fife at F1 and then just go really low. But he's put his hand up and yeah, I can definitely see why you've got him as a must-have, mate.
yeah. I think the thing with him is, I think he was actually playing for a spot in that Pracky game. It just seemed like he was playing his absolute heart out,
It
which is
was,
good.
yeah.
It's good to see. And also in the preseason game before that, he absolutely killed it too. So, um, yeah, I can't see this pick going backwards, but I can see it stabilizing almost. I can't see him going down in price, in all honesty.
That's a very fair call, mate. Very fair call. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get on to James Jordan, who's 275k. He is a DPP forward mid. Why have you picked this one, Dale?
Well, look, he was always on the watch list, but I think all the planets are pretty much aligning for this bloke at the moment. So we know that Parker's out with a broken arm. Adams is out for a little while as well. So blokes like James Jordan, they've got some opportunity to spend some more minutes in the midfield. Now, again, similar to like a Zach Fisher, when you look at Jordan's game, it's like, well, what more did you actually want this bloke to do? So looking at his stats here, 115 Supercoach points, 119 fantasy as well. So that was pretty even there, mate, which can be rare at times. 17 kicks, 14 handballs, 9 marks, 12 of those possessions were contested, 3 tackles thrown in there. Now, only 67% for his efficiency rate. So even if you get that to a 70, there's some bonus points there. Really, what more could he have done? I thought he was really impressive when playing on a wing, when he was inside as well, found the football. And I just like, more than anything, the opportunity that he's presented with now, particularly with these other injuries in the midfield, mate. Mature type body as well. Cheap price, was sub-affected from last year. So I just think that everything looks good with this pick at the moment. We obviously get to view him come round 0 anyway, just to confirm a few things. But from what I saw on the weekend, at his price, I think he's an absolute lock. And probably, apart from Wilson and Sexton, my first locked mid-price forward, mate.
Yep, 100%. And we got to remember, he does not have to be a keeper. These players are going to come back eventually. He can literally just make 150 to 200k, and we can be on our way out of here with this pick. Like,
Absolutely.
it's obviously the Mills and Parker factor is massive, and they're going to come back at some point second half of the year, maybe late first half of the year, and we're going to have to be prepared to possibly offload him at that point. Because his role's it's gonna be inevitable that his role changes. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lock for mine too. Darcy Wilson. Also on James Jordan, he does not have a photo in Sydney colours. I looked everywhere. there is not one. They haven't had a photo day yet. And same with, if we go back onto Grundy, that's not a photo day picture. Like, I couldn't find any, but yeah, anyway. Darcy Wilson.
Good, mate.
Darcy Wilson, 130k, forward mid. Oh my goodness. His first half was just, I was in awe. I was in absolute awe. What about you, DR?
Oh, mate, massive fan. I remember he had like 8 touches for 30 odd Supercoach points after the first quarter, and just thought, here we go. Now, with Wilson, I was pretty much always picking him, always had him in my side, but probably on the bench, I had him in the midfield bench as that F7 type. But I think now, mate, after that game, very realistic to have him actually on field in your F6 position if you want to go a little bit lighter there. So 106 Supercoach points for him, 15 kicks, 9 handballs, 10 marks. So a few marks here, which for fantasy, I know it's a different game. That's always big for there. Had a shot on goal, didn't quite convert. Again, 69% efficiency. I think that should be a little bit higher on most occasions. And time on ground, 79% time on ground. So I think he's a dead set lock to play round 1. The type of bloke that can actually find the football. Did have some contested there. I think more of an outside player, but the type of bloke that I think Ross Lyon wants to play, wants to get games into early, and just got a high football IQ from what I saw on the weekend anyway. I don't know a lot about him as a player, but after watching that match, seemed to get into the right positions, not afraid to do a little bit of dirty work as well. So massive fan of him, mate, and I think every team should be selecting him. And just as that little bonus as well, he's got that forward mid DPP, are paying up a little bit more, but it's only really 7K more than that 123 type player. So absolutely locked for me, mate. It's just a question of, do you want to have him as that really nice bench scoring option, or are you just going to chuck him just say your F6 position. That's probably the big decision, I think, for people now, mate.
100%, 100%. I've talked to many people that just really want to get him on field, but they think Sexton will average more. So, and yeah, that's the issue with some teams. Some teams have them both on field. Like, it's very difficult, and you're already going to see all the cocky comments coming through when one of them scores a 130 in round one and one scores a 60. So
Guaranteed, mate.
can't wait. Anyway, Alex Sexton, 133K forward, but is he a forward, DR?
Mate, this guy played a fantastic game. And look, what I like about Sexton is the fact that we're getting him at a rookie price, but he's actually a really mature body. He's actually getting on in age. And I think that if it wasn't for the changing coach this year, then he may have possibly been delisted because he just was not getting any sort of a run at it last season. I think he might be their leading goal kicker as well, Sexton, or right up there for all-time leading goal kickers. But 125 SuperCoach points, 31 touches, 11 marks, went at 87% efficiency, had some bonus kick-ins there as well. This is the role that we want to see. This is such a beautiful role for SuperCoach. And when you've got someone playing this role who's 133,400, what's not to like about it? People may talk about his buy, but this is a rookie. Remember, given the fact he's playing in round 0, that price will rise a little bit earlier anyway. So there is really nothing that I don't like. Is there the potential for him to be dropped early if he's out of form? Look, who knows? But really, if you look at what he did in the weekend, I don't think there's any reason, just like we talk about with your Fishers, to take them out of that role. If he's performing so well, why change things? Why reinvent the wheel? So for me, mate, just tick, tick, tick this preseason, and I can't really find a reason not to select him. I think that he should be in 100% of sides.
Yep, 100%. Yep, definitely agree with that. I think, yeah, it's funny. We were talking about him the other day, and I think I said he was the leading goal kicker. He's actually second to Tom Lynch. I researched it
That's where I got it from, mate. That's you know, I get my info. That's right. You're on the team preview, buddy.
I got it wrong though. He's second to Tom Lynch, so I had to
Close
research
enough,
that
man.
afterwards.
And
But
Tom Lynch's the key forward anyway, mate. He was getting all the ball, mate. So
yeah,
let's give it to
exactly.
Sexton anyway, mate.
Yeah, yeah, better player than Tom Lynch.
Absolutely tougher as well, mate. Tougher as well.
Yeah. Anyway, it seems like the halfback position is either a career starter, a career saver, and a career ender. So,
oh, that's good, man. You need to patent that quote. Make one of those fancy little things on, was it Quora.com or something, mate?
yeah,
Absolutely. Shakespeare stuff there, mate.
yeah. Anyway, that he's an absolute lock. I can't see this pick actually failing. I think that is potentially the most unlikely pick to fail for SuperCoach this year.
It's not a bad call, mate. It's not a bad call. Look at the price there. He's a seasoned AFL player, got a fantastic role, played well in the role. Yeah, let's just get him in, everyone. Pretty simple, I think.
So, DR, are you fielding both Sexton and Wilson, or do you have one on, one out?
Well, at the moment, mate, I'm only fielding one, but that could certainly change. That could certainly change. I think the issue for me, right, is if I field both of them, I'm just not wrapped with the other options that we've got on our bench. So you've got like your Cadman types, but I'm not keen on the Cooper Simpsons that I've been running with. The Manners, I don't think he's a real option now. So the main reason for rolling with one of these guys on the bench is my lack of confidence with some of the other cheap forward rookie options, to be honest, mate. If I had another really decent option around the 123K mark up my sleeve, and look, it could be a biggie type, possibly Biggie Newen, who knows? But that's probably the main reason, mate. If there's another cheap guy that really puts his hand up, I may be even happy to run both of them. But at this stage, it's the lack of quality with the other rookies, I think, mate, which is sort of forcing me just to stash a decent player on the bench for now.
Yep. I totally agree. It's definitely difficult. Definitely difficult. And it's hard to structure our forward lines now, especially now that we need to see we get to see Flanders another time. Who knows? That role might just completely switch back to the midfield time. But yeah, it's a tough line, the forward line this year. A lot of people running the same structure though. So if one of us goes down, we're all going down.
That's it, mate. We're all sinking with the ship.
Exactly. So anyway, that is the end of the top 10 must-haves. Thank you, DR. If you haven't already, I'm sure you're all already subscribed. But let's get this man to, what can we do? We can get 5,300. We can
You're
get
a good man,
that
mate.
potentially. Maybe less, but we'll try to get him up as much as possible. I'll leave all of his socials. I'll leave his YouTube, Twitter, and I'll put your Facebook in there too, mate. So
I appreciate it, buddy. Oh, just quickly, right? Did I tell you what happened with my Facebook stuff? I don't know if it's for this channel, right? But I wasn't on Facebook. Like, I don't do Facebook anymore, right? But I'd put this page up. And then my wife was scrolling through Facebook, right? She's like, "Shit, mate, have you seen your SuperCoach page?" I'm like, "Nah, I haven't posted anything." Like probably a year and a half. She's like, "It's worse than Pornhub." Like, all these people are just like retweeting all this porn and stuff. I'm like, "What? You're joking?" I've had a look on there, and I'm like, "It's just not the average type stuff." Wowee. So for anyone that has visited that Facebook page and just had a quick glance, please don't judge me on that. It was not me that posted any of that, and it has been cleaned up. So that was an interesting on the old Facebook page here, mate. Thought, DR, the dodgy bugger. What is this community that I've got involved in here? A few eyebrows may have been raised there, mate, but no, I will try my best to get back on Facebook, mate, but mainly X these days. Instagram, It's mainly my members group I've got there, but mate, you are the one that really deserves some more subscribers, mate, because the stuff that you're doing is fantastic, mate. Only getting bigger, only getting better. And we'll be at 1,000 in absolutely no time, mate. But always great having a chat with you, mate. That's why I obviously invited you onto the channel the other day, because I've been loving your stuff. As I've mentioned, top bloke to talk to. Always good to have a bit of a laugh. Great to have some banter, mate. We can't take life or SuperCoach too seriously. So, always a pleasure coming on, mate. And as I've said to you many times, open invitation to jump on my channel as well, mate. But thank you very much for having me on again, mate.
No worries, DR. It's been an absolute pleasure. Been dominating the game for so long. And always remember, guys, subscribe, because we want to get 1K before round 1. 1K. Just 150 more people need to subscribe. It's just a quick press of a button.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if you're enjoying the content, remember to do so. So anyway, hope you all have a good one, and cheers.